Could we all please rise for the prayer? Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we be granted the legacy of our founders. May we be granted
this day the wisdom to make
decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
9 present.
If there's no objection,
Mr. Mayor.
oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's with a great deal of sadness, yet with the utmost respect, I offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Adelard Ed Trudell, who passed away on Saturday. Ed Trudell is the husband of Jermaine Vigen Trudell, who is the Assistant Director of the Lowell Development and Financial Corporation. As most of us know, Ed Trudell was a 20-year employee here at City Hall, working as our Special Events Coordinator out of the Division of Planning and Development. Ed and his late wife, Kay, had 2 wonderful daughters, Kathy and Donna, and Ed is also survived by 5 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. Ed and Jermaine could be seen throughout the city at many charitable events. He was truly devoted to this city. He loved this city, and Ed Trudell will be sorely missed by all. May he rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Could we all please rise for a moment of silence in darkened chambers? May you rest in peace. If there's no objection, I'd like to offer a request a suspension of rules to bring in the City of Lowell Green Building Commission Green Building Excellence Award. We just received it over the weekend, so motion to suspend the rules by
So moved.
by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. And in keeping with past presentations, we have representatives from the Green Building Commission here this evening. So we'd like to present this year's Green Building Excellence Award. The Green Building Commission, the intent of this Building Excellence Award program is to recognize projects that demonstrate green building practices and foster greater interest and adoption of green building practices community-wide. This year, the Green Building Commission has identified the residents of Mr. Chris Gleba and Ms. Chris Erickson of 48 Epping Street, Lowell, as the 2014 Green Building Excellence Award winner for a residential property. This property was also nominated by Mark Yanowicz of Vertico Designs, who served as the project architect and building. For this renovation, the homeowners follow the durability guidelines outlined in the Lead for Homes project checklist. They were also able to use National Grid's Deep Energy Retrofit Pilot Program. Some of the many green features of this building include a comprehensive exterior air and water barrier, rock wool insulation on the walls and the roof, high-efficiency appliances, and triple-pane windows. The family reports a decrease in overall energy usage of 54% since the project completion. This work is a fine example of the kind of innovative and sustainable projects we want to see more of here in Lowell, and we are happy to recognize Mr. Gleba and Mrs. Erickson this evening. Are they here? Yep. Can you please come to the podium, please? If I could just read, I just would like to read the award. The City of Lowell Green Building Commission, on this 27th day of May, 2014, the City of Lowell Green Building Excellence Award to Chris Gleba and Chris Erickson. The City of Lowell Green Building Commission Award for a residential building is awarded to Chris Gleba and Chris Erickson for their exemplary green redevelopment of an 1895 residential home at 48 Epping Street. This project achieved National Grid Deep Energy Retrofit guidelines while benefiting from pilot program funding. The project included numerous LEED residential elements. This project is an excellent example of a green building for a residential property and is a wonderful example of what can be achieved with existing homes in Lowell. Presented on behalf of the Lowell Green Building Commission by Jay Mason, the chair of the Building Commission, and myself on behalf of all of my colleagues in the City of Lowell. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you very much.
I just would like to thank the city for taking the time to recognize this family for the work that they've done and the planning that they've put into this project. These things are not done without a lot of effort. The architect involved was very diligent in working through and getting this done. Sir, again, your name, please?
Mark Yanowitz.
Mark, thank you very much for your involvement and role as well. We are constantly striving to make the city a more sustainable, more productive place, and this is the kind of result that we are happy to encourage and work with and foster here in the city of Lowell. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks.
Mr. Yanowitz, would you like to say a few words? You're from Vertigo Designs?
Yeah, Verdeco Designs,
Verdeco.
and it's Mark Yanowitz. I'm architect and general contractor of this project, and want to say how much a pleasure it was to work with my clients, Chris Gleba and Chris Erickson. Efforts like this are truly a team effort. It starts with clients who have goals and visions, and my job as an architect and a builder is to help realize those goals and visions. We had a great partnership with National Grid, who had a pilot deep energy retrofit program that helped subsidize and finance both the planning and the construction of this. They had also brought on-site or team consultants, Building Science Corporation based out of Westford, internationally known consulting company that worked hand in hand with us as designers and made sure that the details, these projects, the devil is in the details, so you really have to properly kind of create the sandwich of what a building is and to properly make sure that design goals are met with the construction. And then we had dozens of subcontractors that joined the team, added their expertise, but largely it was the goal and vision of the clients, residents of Lowell, who wanted to pursue this type of high performance and healthy building, and it was a pleasure to work on it and hope to do many more in Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yanowitz. Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the person that just spoke here, when it says that some of the features in this building included the use of zero VOC paint, what is that? What is that? A special paint?
VOC is becoming a very commonplace, and you can get it through, Home Depot, Lowe's. VOC stands for volatile organic compounds. And as a big component of green building is health considerations. As you tighten up a building, it becomes more important that you're careful of what the building materials off-gas. And volatile organic compounds, VOCs, are largely a measure of off-gassing of a product. Nowadays, it's very common to get zero VOC paints, adhesives. You know, you'll find a lot of off-gassing in carpets and other building materials, shellacs, finishes. So it's important, once you tighten up a house, we did in this project bring controlled fresh air ventilation, but we were very careful in the selection of products so that there was no off-gassing of products.
Well, thank you very much for explaining that. We do have a city councilor that's a painter, and I thought maybe he could use that information, you know, so.
I'm sure they're well aware.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Excuse me, this is item 3.3 on the agenda, so entertain a motion to accept the communication and place on file by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item of the agenda, under the City Clerk, minutes of the City Council meeting of May 20th for acceptance. Move approval by Council Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There are public hearings, but not being 7 o'clock as of yet, we'll move on to item 3.1. Communications from the city manager, communication summary, and motion responses. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify a couple that came up last week talking about a complaint, it was we received some informational material stating that this was in regards to the Kazanjian used parts, and there was some sort of information that there wasn't the proper licenses, and we do have a copy of the dealer in junk and the motor vehicle junk license. We do have that, and I just wanted to say that Developmental Services have performed numerous inspections on this property, and if there were ever an issue, it was immediately remedied. In fact, the property appears to be maintained as good or better than similar uses around the city. And this existing license that they have is allowed under zoning as of right. So for the record, I wanted to respond to the follow-up complaint by the two residents and set the record straight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Further discussion? Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, through you to Mr. Slagle, the Director of Developmental Services, please. With respect to motion response C, the property at 557 Varnum Ave, before or since the sale of the property, or since the abandonment of the business there, has city inspections been in there?
We have not had any inspectors in the interior of the building since that time. The situation is a bit complicated by the fact that the operator of the property is not the owner of the property. The business that was operating the nursing home that left in January still, my understanding is, still maintains, there's still equipment on the property. And so my understanding is that they are still moving equipment out of the building at the time. They haven't completely abandoned the use of the property. But absent any reports of violations on the property, we don't have access to the interior of the building.
Okay, and with regards to the exterior of the building, I do notice that it is boarded up. I was under the impression, is there an ordinance to be followed? I'm sorry, an ordinance to be followed if, if you board up your business or your home?
You're allowed to board up a vacant structure within the city as long as you follow the requirements for boarding it securely. We can't prevent a property owner of an empty building from boarding it up. We discourage it. We attempt to get them. In our experience, it actually creates more problems when you board up a property than if you leave it with the windows so it looks like it might be occupied, but we have no authority to stop a person from boarding up a property.
Okay, and finally, the only business that can be run with, with your response, it would just be a nursing home. No other business can go in there and open up?
That is correct. The only business that can go in there without any other kind of review is a nursing home. The district is not zoned for any other commercial use.
And at the end of 2 years, even that goes away, correct?
At the end of 2 years, that would have been deemed abandoned, and they wouldn't be able to restart it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further question, Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back to 705 Dutton Street just for a minute. The couple that came down here, we communicated the city's position and the reasons for that position to that couple directly, or how did that end up going?
I don't believe so, but we can.
Okay.
We will tomorrow. The question is, did we communicate our response to the couple that came?
We have not communicated the specific response to the couple. The information in that response, they have had communicated to them several times by Development Services over the course of the preceding months.
I understand that, but they did come down here a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that part of the discussion was that we would provide them with a response, and so it would seem to me that it makes sense to do that directly rather than to expect that they probably caught your memo.
I can certainly provide it to them, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on motion responses? Councilor Leahy?
Yep, thank you. On letter A, the response for the illegal dumping, the motion that you put on, Mayor, for the donation boxes, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Dave Ouellette's doing on this. I know we all call him, and I call him at least every week to report something. So I know that this has been an ongoing problem, and I know that he's working very hard, and you brought the motion in on this. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I think it's making a difference, so thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Council. In fact, pulling up to a veterans event the other day, I pulled up to a location, and I looked up, and there was a sign saying, "Smile, you're on camera." So I think it's good that these boxes are being monitored. Entertain a motion to accept the report that has been placed on file by Council Rourke, second by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next item, under communication from the city manager, request for out-of-state travel, one for the Lowell Police Department. Discussion? Move approval by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. Roll call.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Nine yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next is the communication report and recommendation from the Planning Board relative to the proposed amendment to the National Flood Insurance Program. We have a public hearing coming up on such items, so why don't we take that item up under the public hearing?
Right.
Moving on to item 4, votes from the city manager. Vote authorize city manager to execute a lease on 605 Broadway Street, Lowell Police Department Reentry Program. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, in the City of Lowell. In City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to enter into a lease agreement with TMI Property Management and Development, doing business as Broadway Street Real Estate Development Corporation, with the principal place of business at 173 Methuen Street, Lowell, Mass., 01850 for property located at 605 Broadway Street, Lowell, Mass. What is the wish of the body? Move approval by Councilor Belanger, second by Councilor Martin. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Belanger?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, noticing this lease and realizing what rents are now in the city, and I'd just like to commend TMI Properties and Brian McGowan for that. This is a very, very, I think a big concession is made to the city, if you will, on getting this precinct here, and I think it's very, very helpful to the neighborhood. So, Mr. Manager, can you send a letter to TMI Properties thanking them? This is a very reasonable rent compared to what's being charged in that area. So I just want to show that we're appreciative, because I think it's very beneficial to that neighborhood. So if you could do that, it'd be great.
Thank you, Council. For discussion, roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item, 4.2 is a vote authorizing the approval and submission of the federal FY 2014-2015 Annual Action Plan. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council. Vote authorizing the approval and submission of the federal fiscal year 2014-2015 City of Lowell Annual Action Plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Discussion on this agenda item. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every year when we receive the CDBG funding, every year it's decreased. What I want to know, what are we losing out here, and how much money from last year? Do we have any idea about that? It's always decreasing, and it's very sad to see that, because there's more of a need and there's less money every year coming in.
Yes, you're correct. Actually, it is. We saw a decrease in about just over 2% from last year to this year in our CDBG award, and we've had about a 32% decrease since 2010. So yeah, we are seeing significant decreases. The fortunate thing is that we do have a lot of support from our congressional delegation, so they are very supportive of our federal funding.
That 2% amounts to how much money, do you know?
It was a decrease of just over 100,000.
That's too bad.
That's significant.
It's too bad. Sorry to hear that, but I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, and my colleagues know, a great deal of work goes into this document each and every year, so I just want to thank the administration for the work that you've done on this, as well as the Citizens Advisory Committee that was involved. Again, it's a good piece of work, and I move approval, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to approve by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Present.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
8 yeas.
8 yeas, 1 present, motion carries. Item 4.3, vote authorizing city manager to transfer appropriations to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B. Second reading. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, vote in City Council, ordered that pursuant to provisions of General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 33B, and prior to the close of books for FY14, the city manager is hereby authorized to transfer appropriations from allotments with available balances to those needing supplementation. Order recommendation introduced by Kevin J. Murphy, city manager. Mr. Manager?
During the month of June, as we're going to have to do a lot of housekeeping transfers to close out the budget for fiscal year 2014. So actually, my interim CFO came up with this idea. It'll make it a lot simpler, and as we go on, we won't have to vote like 10 different transfers, but if you could describe for them what our plans are for them.
Mr. Healy?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the City Council. As the council is aware, we have a couple of challenges before June 30th. One is the snow and ice account deficit. The good news is, as a result of the city manager's efforts working with Congresswoman Tsongas's office, we think we've moved the reimbursement from FEMA for what actually was an expense that took place in February 13 for the tropical storm. Yet still, with $500,000 included in the preliminary budget that the City Council received in March, and with the FEMA money, there will be a deficit in the Department of Public Works, salary and wages, snow and ice account, and for expenses for contract plowing. So what we are looking very carefully at are any possible accounts where there may be balances that we could transfer in so that we could balance out that account. The other account that's of a concern is the sick leave incentive buyback program, which was budgeted at $1 million, and we have a retirement today that has an amount of $26,000 associated with it. So that is another account that needs to be replenished. So we will be looking at all the multiple accounts to bring balances into these accounts in an effort to finish, a very sincere effort to finish June 30th in balance. And rather than come to the City Council in the midst of the FY15 budget hearings and with your busy schedule as it is, these are routine transfers. In Lowell, there are only two accounts. There's salaries accounts and there's expense accounts, really. And then there's departmental accounts, and if you're taking from one department to another, you must come before the City Council. What this does is simplify that process. We will report back to the council, certainly, what the net result of these transfers are, but it will make the month of June and this effort to balance the budget go smoother, and appreciate the council's consideration on it.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Discussion? Okay, we'll go Council Martin, Council Kennedy, Council Belanger.
To the last point Mr. Healy made, I know in the past we've already kind of loosened the rules on transfers and allowed for transfers within departments not having to come to the council, but I think on motion of Councilor Kennedy, the council's always been kept informed of those transfers, at least if they exceed a certain dollar amount. I think 20,000 is the number. So I would just like to see that same practice followed if this gets adopted tonight. And based on your comments, I expect that that's what you intend to do. Okay, thank you.
Council Kennedy?
I was going to say much the same thing as what Councilor Martin just said. I can understand the need for this. Is this the way they do it in Cambridge?
Yes.
Anyways, I think it's a pretty good idea, and as long as we get an accounting after it's all, after all the dust settles, I think that's fine. Thank you.
Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Move approval, if nobody's put a motion on the floor.
Move to approve by Council Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Martin. On further discussion, Council Belanger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My philosophy, I agree with my colleagues, is to, let the manager manage. The less interference, I feel, is better, but we do need a little transparency at the same time. As long as we get a memo, some sort of correspondence, I am fine with it, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Council Leahy?
Thank you. Just, is this up to a certain amount, or is it just for transfers for this year, or an ongoing process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council, this would only be for fiscal year 14, just to balance the books. Now, perhaps in June of 15, a similar request might be made, but okay. No, this does not carry beyond June 30th.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no objection, if I could just ask a couple of questions. Mr. Healy, how many transfers are you looking at in between departments, and what is the dollar figure, generally speaking, you're looking at?
Mr. Mayor, I would say the number of transfers to either snow and ice and/or sick leave incentive could be in up to the 50s maybe, but the total aggregate amount would be about the 250,000 that will be short in snow and ice after the FEMA reimbursement, after the $500,000 carryover into next year's budget. The sick leave incentive account looks like it's in deficit by about 60 to 70,000. So this will require multiple transfers from, say, a library perhaps, or a fire department, which may have surpluses and salaries that could go into there. There's 2 prime accounts that we're looking to transfer into. It may be as many as 30 possible line items where there is a surplus that would be brought into those 2 accounts.
Okay. I know we've done this, and prior administrations have transferred excesses from other departments to try to close out that deficit, so I'd appreciate the reports as well. Further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
10 yeas, motion carries. Being 7 o'clock, we have public hearings scheduled, general public hearings. First one is 2.1. It's an ordinance amending zone Article 9 overlay district, specifically 9.1 floodplain overlay district. Motion to waive the full reading for the second reading by Counsel Belanger, seconded by Counsel Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council. It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 290 thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance by amending Article 9 Overlay District, specifically Section 9.1 entitled Floodplain Overlay District. Now move to this portion of the public hearing. Those will open this portion of the public hearing. Those wishing to speak in favor. In favor? Those wishing to speak in favor. Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. Now open the next part of the hearing. Those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition? In opposition. Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Counsel Kennedy?
Move approval.
Move approval by Counsel Kennedy, seconded by Counsel Samaras.
Mr. Mayor, on the motion.
Counsel Kennedy on the motion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. Mr. Manager, while we're talking about flood insurance, would you be able to get the council an update on how the university is making out with the backwater study that we requested a few weeks ago, and maybe get that to us in the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that's moving along, or to see where that stands?
Absolutely, I'll talk to the sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely, I'll talk to the chancellor and get an updated report on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. While we're under the public hearing section, we may as well take up item 3. Excuse me. 3.4. Communication, a report and recommendation from the Planning Board, proposed amendment relative to the National Flood Insurance and Federal Emergency Management Agency. Motion to accept the report and recommendation and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. That report is accepted. On the public hearing. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for the administration. Assuming that this gets approved this evening, does FEMA get notified right away that these have been adopted by the city, that these changes?
Yes, we've been in contact with the state coordinator, and tomorrow morning, assuming the council passes it, we will inform the state coordinator of the program of the text that has been passed. They've already seen the text, so as long as the council doesn't change it, we'll let them know first thing in the morning.
Is there a lag time that, again, being in the mortgage side of things and dealing with flood insurance on a daily basis, is this something that will be 30 or 60 days out before we get the updated information?
No, the FEMA has provided us with the maps on the expectation that we adopt them as we're required. The text of the proposed amendment has already been forwarded to the state, to FEMA's state coordinator. They have already vetted the language and are just awaiting the vote of the council to let them know that it's been approved.
Okay, thank
In
you.
fact, I believe the mayor's office received correspondence from FEMA today, just reminding the city that we had to have these in place by July 7th, 2013, in order to avoid a lapse in the flood insurance program. So we are well on track to be compliant with that deadline.
Thank you.
He's correct. Mayor's office just got date stamped communication from FEMA today, letting us know what the deadline is, and we're ahead of the curve and we'll be in full compliance. Mr. Slagle and then Councilor Rourke.
I apologize. I was asked by the council, I believe Councilor Martin asked when this ordinance was originally proposed, if we could compile some information on the number of properties that were changing their status under the floodplain, and I have that information. I just wanted to share that with the council. There are 239 parcels that are going to be newly identified within the floodplain. So that is an increase. However, there are 147 parcels that are going to go out of the floodplain. So the net is actually less than 100 parcels that will be changing status to be added to the floodplain. So that's a change from the prior maps.
Thank you. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was basically my question was, the difference between addition and subtraction of them. So once this is voted on, hopefully approved, those that are eligible for insurance relief, they get notified.
They get notified by FEMA that their property is in the floodplain. We will also, we have in the past proactively reached out to the property owners, reminding them that when there have been changes in the floodplain maps, and we will do that again. The development services will reach out to them and let them know that their properties are now required to take different steps than they have in the past. So those 239 properties will let us know. And we'll actually probably send out notification to the 147 as well, because that will be good news, and we often don't get a chance to let people know that they're coming out of the flood area, so that we'll let them know that too.
Councilor Martin.
I don't think anyone should be under the illusion that this is good news. I think this is a nightmare for most people. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. Otherwise, we're out of the FEMA program altogether. I had asked for a list of the parcels because I'm going to vote present on this only because I assume in those 200 some odd people I have a client somewhere. But this is tough for a lot of people, and it's been well reported in the news all over the state. But it's fallen on deaf ears, at least outside of Plymouth County. So I don't know that there's much the council can do about it, but I suppose it is good news for those 147 some odd people, but it's going to be a significant impact for the rest, some of whom have never had flooding in half a century or more.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with this vote concludes the process, really, right? The vote that we've taken tonight?
Correct.
Okay, and can we get a copy of the list of the, what'd you say, 237, 230?
Yes, I have the list. I hesitated to put it out as a public document, but I can certainly do that.
Any other list?
I have both lists,
Right.
ins and outs. I have both of those lists, yes.
So we can get a copy of those?
Certainly.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion on this? Could you tell me what the notification process is, Mr. Slagle, for those who are no longer be in the floodplain and those that will be? Because there was legislation, I agree with Council Martin, it's not good news for those 200 people. And we don't have much say in it at all whatsoever. These maps have been compiled and produced and sent to the city. The city didn't have input in the properties included and taken out. So I think it's important, and we came across this a number of years ago where people are upset, and rightfully so, but there was a bill passed in Congress to provide some type of relief as a result of these new maps, because it is a nationwide issue. So I think it'd be helpful to get a copy of that legislation and provide that to these homeowners.
I can certainly do that. The formal notification doesn't come from us because it's a FEMA thing, but we do proactively reach out and
You do?
let
Okay.
the properties owners know. We can do that, and I can certainly find that legislation,
Okay.
the legislation, and include that in the packet to the 239 affected properties.
Council Kennedy, then Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just one more question. There must be a third list, right? So, and I'm not asking for that list, but there has to be a list of the people that were in before and that are still in. And I'm just, how big is that list? How many people are impacted by this?
I honestly don't know. When we were compiling the list, we were just looking at the kind of the Venn diagrams of who was in and who was out. I don't know the number of properties in the city.
Okay.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess. I don't.
All right, thanks.
Apologize.
Sorry, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Slagle. Mr. Slagle, who notifies these homeowners that they're about to get whacked with about a $3,000 a year bill? It is, I think there is discounted the first year or two, I believe, but it's rather costly, and we're going to be getting some emails imminent, let's put it that way, to the council. So how are these homeowners being notified? What's the process there?
Well, as I said, I believe that FEMA is the entity that's responsible for the legal notification of an individual whose status of their property has been changed from not in the floodplain to in the floodplain. So because they are the entity that has the regulatory authority over this, they have the legal responsibility to notify them, and I don't know what their specific processes are. However, we will take the additional step of notifying. I have a spreadsheet of all the property owners who are being affected. We will let them know that there have been changes to their status and under the floodplain maps, and provide them the contact information for the state FEMA coordinator in that office. Because unfortunately, there's not really anything that the city, as Councilor Martin mentioned, the city doesn't have anything to do with this. There's not really anything we can do to assist them other than provide them information on how to get in touch with the.
I agree. I'd just like them to be notified as early as possible. This is not good news, and it's not an option for them either. They can't refuse it. And Councilor Malinowski can probably affirm this, that they go up in their mortgage. They attach their house, and the mortgage goes up, and they will pay for it and make you add it onto your monthly payment. So this isn't good. But nonetheless, it's out of our control. So let's just, let these residents know to the best we can, Eric. That's my message. So thank you very much.
And I believe, and Councilor Malinowski might actually be able to speak to this better than me, but I believe that the primary mortgage holders are also informed when the properties change status like this. So these maps are not new. We've had these maps for a little while, so it may very well be that these property owners have already been notified that by their banks that their status is changing.
Council Milonazo, is that correct? I'll say Council Belanger. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that is correct, because I have gotten phone calls from residents that has seen a change in their insurance bill, a pretty large amount, and a change as well. And I know, supposedly there's supposed to be a moratorium on changes in the insurance until the bill that the mayor spoke about, the federal bill that was passed, I believe, in March. So hopefully, the sooner that they get notified of the eligibility, hopefully for some relief is given to them, whether it be by federal, state, or city administration. I think it would just be helpful for those affected.
Right. Again, I do want to reiterate that because FEMA is the responsible for this, I believe they have already done their outreach. So because these maps are not, we are passing the ordinance now. The FEMA had promulgated these maps several months ago. So I believe they've already done their legally required outreach. But we will certainly take the extra step and let them know again.
Thank you, Mr. Slagle. Further discussion? Roll call.
Council Martin.
Present.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
8 yeas.
8 yeas. Next scheduled public hearing is an order of taking and acceptance of Melrose and Shirley Ave. Motion to waive the full reading by Counsel Leahy, seconded by Counsel Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, so ordered. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell, in City Council, an order of taking and acceptance of Shirley Avenue and Melrose Avenue. To take by eminent domain and fee certain parcels of land in the City of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of Shirley Avenue and Melrose Avenue and other municipal purposes associated therewith. We will now open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Those wishing to speak in favor? In favor. Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Now open that portion of the public hearing for those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition? In opposition, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, because this would probably be, if this is accepted, would allow these streets to qualify for in the area of the Chapter 90 funding, which would allow them to be repaved.
Yes, and that's one of the advantages of
And
accepting the streets.
And they're both in deplorable condition.
Right.
And in the floodplain area, very bad for the street surface. So I'd like to move approval just for the fact that they would be eligible for Chapter 90 funding to probably in the future be repaved. Thank you.
Motion by Councilor Mercia to refer to the clerk's office, which will remain for 7 days. Second by Councilor Milonazo. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Reverting back to Section 5, orders of the city manager, 5.1, order, we have a 60-day trial. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council is an order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Discussion? Roll call. Council Martin?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Council Martin, second by Council Mercia. Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item. Under orders from the city manager. Number 6, 6.1. Ordinance amending Chapter 222, Peace and Good Order by adding Section 222-14 entitled Public Urination and Defecation. Motion to refer to a public hearing on June 10th, 2014 at 7 p.m. by Council Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Reports, Subcommittee, 7.1, Subcommittee on Arts and Culture, May 27th, 2014. Chairman Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council Arts and Culture Subcommittee met this evening. In attendance, myself, Councilor Leahy, Councilor Mercia. We also had Mayor Elliott was in attendance, along with Councilor Belanger and Councilor Samaras. We received a very informative presentation by Susan Halter, who is the Director of COOL, Cultural Office of Lowell, and the presentation really centered on the group known as COOL, and then CASE, which is the other group in Lowell that works on our special events here in the city. And she went through a number of slides talking about the impact that the working together has had in the city, the number of events, the number of visitors, the number of volunteers that participate to really make Lowell a destination city. My colleagues had a number of questions and comments as it relates to marketing and being able to do more, if you will. But overall, the presentation was, as I mentioned, informative, and I'm looking forward to continuing the dialogue between the cultural community and the city council, and of course the city administration. The city manager noted that in the FY15 budget, he plans to level fund the marketing portion going forward. So again, it's a collaborative effort, all groups working together, the CVB, the Lowell Plan, the groups that were mentioned earlier in the presentation. And again, it's art is a handmaid of human good, which obviously is our logo, and I think that came through loud and clear tonight. So, Mr. Mayor, that's a report of progress by way of update. In 2008, these two organizations merged, and I think that the city has benefited from that merger, but there's still more to do, and we're all looking forward to continuing working together. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If my colleagues have anything to add, please do so. I present that as a report of progress.
Thank you, Councilor Milanazzo. Further discussion from other members? Motion to accept the report of progress by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Report is adopted and placed on file. This is not a report, but I just wanted to recognize and thank all the veteran organizations across the city this weekend. There were many events, and I thought they were all done very, very well. A lot of time and effort was put in by the veteran organizations across the city, and they did a great job. Councilor Mercia, you and I spent an awful lot of time together this weekend, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah, we did. And I capped it off with a beautiful, beautiful concert at the Shrine with Norman Ayotte and his Spindle City Singers, and the acoustics in the St. Joseph the Worker Shrine. This was free to the public. I felt like I died and went to heaven, and the angels were singing. It was just so magnificent. So I want to publicly thank Norman Ayotte and his Spindle City Singers. It was like we worked very hard, and I was just sitting there thinking, what a way to end this. It was so beautiful. They had two women with operatic voices. It just, I thought the windows were going to all shatter, but it was just magnificent. Congratulations, and I'm very grateful to have been able to go, as the place was packed.
And I can tell you the veteran organizations appreciated members taking their time out of their schedule to join them. So moving on to the next item of the agenda. There are 4 requests for poll locations. Motion to suspend the rules and take them all at once by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Wire Inspector National Grid requests poll location at 294 Trotting, 246 Trotting, 36 Schaefer, 213 White Street. Motion to accept and adopt the recommendation of the Wire Inspector by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Reports are accepted. Next item, under petitions. First petition is miscellaneous. Maureen DePietrio requests 1 handicap parking sign at 16 Carmine Street. Motion to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Mercia?
As well as a 60-day trial on this one, please.
As well as a 60-day trial. All those in favor to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Next item under petitions is miscellaneous. Thomas E.P. Sarantakis requests to address City Council regarding memorial at the corner of Back Central and Floyd Streets for Juventino, Leti, Thomas Eugene, and Paul Gauthier. Mr. Sarantakis?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, my name is Thomas Sarantakis. I am here because of two tragedies. I would like to know if the city would make a park for the tragedies of the victims. It's a little play park for the kids. And I don't have my paperwork. Right, the park should have 2 trees and a slide, 2 swings, and 3 play spring horses. The slide and swings could be in the Portuguese owner store, and trees and horses for my godmother's boys. The park could be a wonderful place for families and friends and children to relax and enjoy the city of Lowell. I appreciate it if you could take it into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sarantakis. Appreciate you submitting this letter of interest and requesting this park. I would also like to note that the request is in the memory of the Portuguese store owner who died in a fire at the location in his store, and also in the memory of his godmother's 3 boys who died in the tragic accident. So, discussion on this? Want to refer this to, motion to refer this to the city manager for report and recommendation by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. In the opposed, motion carries. Mr. Sarantakis, we have referred your request to the city manager. He's going to work with the departments in the city and get a report and recommendation, and he'll bring it back to the city council. And why don't we will get back in touch with you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to apologize to Mr. Sarantakis. I didn't know that you were here for an item. We would have been happy to suspend the rules so you wouldn't have had to be bored for the whole evening listening to this. I'm so sorry. I thought you were just here as an observer. I didn't know you had something on the agenda. We would have never made you stay this long. That's a shame. I'm sorry. We didn't know that.
Right, we were actually enjoying listening.
Oh, good.
Some of the
And you're
items.
still awake. That's amazing. This is a good thing. Thank you.
Well, there's more to come, so don't be disappointed. City manager's office we'll be back in touch with you after we gather some information. We thank you. Next item on the agenda. Yeah, City Council motions. First one is Council Leahy, first motion of the night. Council Leahy, request city manager have traffic engineer review the need for a stop sign at the corner of Rayner and Monadnock Street. Seconded by Council Martin. Council Leahy?
Thank you. I get a call from a few people in the neighborhood. They're just wondering if we could send somebody up there. More families with small kids in the area now. So if we could see the need for a stop sign, they could come back with a report and recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Second motion of the night by Council Rourke and Council Belanger. Request city manager provide an account of all financial institutions that hold city revenue. Motion needs no second. You're both pointing at each other. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion before us this evening as a request for a comprehensive reporting of what financial institutions are currently holding Lowell's dollars. I feel, Council Belanger as well, feels it's critical that we review these investments periodically to ensure that we are receiving the best return on city dollars. Multiple reasons, including financial climate change and so forth, may be appropriate to look and explore other opportunities that are out there, including those that are within the city of Lowell. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a very, very important motion. Research shows me that it has been mentioned in 2011. There was some conversation about it, some motions made. I don't know what exactly transpired over it. But what I do know is that the local banks are a major, major contributor in our community, and I don't think that's any secret. Our local banks are our #1 lenders in the community. They're our #1 donators, and they're our #1 volunteers. And that is a fact. And I think we're all aware of that, what they do, being involved in many committees throughout the city and festivals. You know, our local banks do everything. They are constantly called upon and always answer the call. So what I'd like to know, Mr. Manager, I know you can't answer this evening, but, you know, where is all the city funds? What banks, I mean, it's under my understanding that a majority of it is not in local banks. And I know there's a criteria to be set. They have to be able to insure a rather large deposit. I know some qualify and some don't. I don't know exactly which ones, but that, I look forward to the manager's report. So what I would like to know is where are all the city revenues, #1? And second, what is the possibility of getting this money transferred to local banks? You know, we've seen time and time again what they do again. I don't mean to be repetitive. The city needs to lead by example. So we need to be community players as well. So this is, I think, very, very important. It's a motion I've been waiting for some time, for the new manager to get set in place. So I think it's very, very important that this money stays local to the best of our ability. So, Mr. Manager, I look forward to your response on this issue, and hopefully there's a good percentage. We can bring this money local. I don't know what kind of deal has been ironed out, but I know I'm very curious to see where it is and what's going on. So I do appreciate it, and I'm banking on unanimous support on this motion. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras?
No, I just want to say that I support this motion. I think it's kind of important at this particular time. As the former headmaster of Lowell High School, a lot of the issues of fundraising we couldn't do without the help of the local banks, not only their money, but the help from the personnel that worked at these banks, or do work at these banks. The question is, when our money's invested properly and get the best interest rates. But we have some very strong local banks, and I think in the past I've heard that other institutions such as Marlboro or banks in other towns have received some of our funding when they get the same rate in Lowell. So I think this was a good motion. It's something that should be done because we do ask a lot of our local business people, and I think as a city, as a as a group of councilors, we really have to be as proactive as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy?
Thank you. I just also want to echo that, from time to time, it's always good. We're going to check where our funds are, and sometimes it's not, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's not always the most important thing to get that 0.25% if it's out of town. So I think that it's always important to keep our money local. Banks do need to be competitive, and I believe they can be. So this is a good motion. It's time to review that again, and if we can keep our money local, that's what we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, Council Kennedy?
Yeah, just through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, as part of that report, could we get the rationale for why the money is in those banks? I mean, I'm assuming that that decision's made mostly by the treasurer,
Yes,
right? And so could we get the rationale of why it is where it is?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor? Council Mercia?
And then lastly, I just want to say, when the call goes out that there's a gap in funding anywhere, the banks, the local banks, are the people and the institutions that step up to the plate. I just want to put that in there, too. We should reciprocate in kind and put our money to the very people that support us when the call is sounded. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Samaras, request city manager review status of painting of traffic lines on Andover Street. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. A number of people have come to me to talk about Andover Street, which is one of our busiest streets coming to the city, and the lines that are there at present. They're very difficult to see at nighttime, and in and during a rainstorm, you just can't see them, and they feel it's created a safety situation. But also, the issue of safety, since I made this motion, has been brought up to me several times. Like this past weekend, there was a serious accident on Andover Street, and I've observed some other accidents, very serious accidents, on Andover Street at night and during the day. So if possible, Mr. Manager, if we could get an idea of how many accidents have occurred on Andover Street in the past year from the police department, and the possibility of having the traffic division look at the safety of that street. I know it's a traditional street, it's got a lot of history to it, and a lot of people don't want to see changes there, but there might be a need for new lights or something, but there are some serious considerations for the safety of our people in Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. Councilor Belanger, then Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do support the motion. Like Councilor Samaras, and I think the rest of my colleagues, I've been getting emails from residents on Andover Street complaining about safety issues there, and I think painting the lines is one that I haven't thought of or come up, but I think is a very good idea, Councilor Samaras, so I do support it. But the speed on that street is really, some of these residents have some horror stories about some real near misses on that street, rear ends and kids being hit going to school. So I think we need to take a long look at the street for sure, how we can slow the pace down a little bit, and bring a little attention to slow it down a bit up there. So I do support the motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to add that, we all know that Andover Street is a secondary highway, but at the same time, it's a residential street. And so, there have been complaints from time to time, and I think that periodically, it's good to look at ways that we can slow that traffic down, either by placing police officers there for a while, or even those, those machines that tell you how fast you're going, that type of thing. And also, could the report include what we do at the corner of Douglas Road, where people cross, where the kids cross to go to the Riley School? How is that handled every day, and are we okay there? But this is going to be, I think that Andover Street, that it's just an ongoing problem, but it's something that needs to be addressed periodically, if we're gonna keep traffic down there. And so if we can try to create a culture where motorists think that it's not a good idea to travel fast on Andover Street, I think that's probably the ultimate goal here. And I'm not sure, I think that's difficult to achieve. Nevertheless, I think it's worth pursuing.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Samaras, then Counselor Rourke.
No, I'd just like to add to that, thank you for that support. Several days ago, during a rainstorm at nighttime, I sometimes come up Andover Street and I take a left onto Wentworth Avenue. And this particular time, I was just going straight into the city. And had I taken my usual go into the middle, I probably would have been in a serious accident because there was somebody coming from Lowell passing another person at nighttime in the rain. Doesn't make sense. You can't stop all situations, but I think it's something that really has to be looked at. Thank you for that support.
Counselor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Does the city have a list of those streets that do need, whether it be repaving or repainting of lines? Is there a priority list?
Yes, there is. I could get that for you from the DPW commissioner.
Great, thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next motion of the evening by myself, Mayor Elliott, and Councilor Martin, request city manager provide an update to the Parks Subcommittee on plans to develop the Concord River Greenway. Councilor Martin?
Thank you. This, I know I've kept up to date, and I know the mayor has had a recent meeting with people at the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, Jane Calvin, the executive director, and maybe others. I'm on the board of the trust, and it's been a long time proponent of the Concord River Greenway. I know there's been some grant funds made available that I believe the city is planning to make use of. And just so the council could be brought up to date, the mayor and I thought that it'd be a smart idea to share what the plans are and what the next steps are with the Park Subcommittee. And so that's all I had. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Councilor, you take the chair.
Mayor Elliott?
Councilor Martin essentially laid it out perfectly. I had a meeting recently with Jane Calvin, the executive director of the Parks and Conservation Trust, and it's an exciting project. There are funds available, and the city does have a role and to play in the completion of this particular link that ties in with a larger parkway, river throughout the greater metropolitan area of Boston. So it's exciting, and money is available, and I think it's important, as Councilor Martin mentioned, just to have a meeting with the Parks Subcommittee and lay out where we're at and what needs to be done to finish off this one last piece. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. In anticipation of this motion, I called the city clerk, established a subcommittee meeting on this very issue on Monday, June 2nd at 5 o'clock. I asked you, Mr. Vice Mayor, if you could attend because you're on the subcommittee, and you said yes. I called Danny Rourke, City Councilor Danny Rourke, for the same meeting, and he's a member as well. He said he would. I talked to Patty Luckin. She's the assets manager in the planning department, very instrumental in the development of this. She's not here, but she said that she would attend and bring information with us as well. So the subcommittee meeting will be Monday, June 2nd at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Motion passes. Next motion tonight, final motion by Mayor Elliott. Request that the city manager report on the process for final water meter readings. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Mayor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. After last week, I had a motion on about tax bills and excise tax bills. And there was some discussion on final water meter readings, so I'm concerned that the process that's currently in place to have these final meter readings is not a seamless process as it should be. And I want to ensure that when a property changes hands, when it's sold or someone's purchasing a piece of property, that there's a smooth transition. And final bills are easily accessible, and they're accurate, and they're available in a timely basis. So, I hear last week that final meter readings, they're only done maybe once a week, and it was my understanding in the past that readings were conducted on a daily basis. Excuse me. I also believe there was a position in the budget in the water department last year that was unfilled for quite some time, but it was filled, and now readings are being done once a week, when even before this position was filled, they were being done daily. So there's another position, and with a lesser level of service with another position, so it doesn't really make sense to me. But so I think it's important to get a report from you, Mr. Manager, on exactly what the process is, and what is the alternative process. It's not clear right now on the final meter reading, so I'd like to know when the meters are being read, and just to make sure that we're clear, that considering we all continue to get emails on water bill readings, Mr. Manager, there clearly are some issues that need to be addressed, in the department, and we, here's one we can't be creating anymore. So that's the intent of the motion, and just want to get a report on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercy?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm still outraged with what is happening to people and this issue as well. Through this motion, I'm just expressing my opinion about the average ratepayer/taxpayer who, through no fault of their own, received an estimated water bill for years and unknowingly was charged a lower water bill because someone was too lax or derelict in their duties to do the right thing from the very beginning. What bothers me the most is that the person in charge, the department head, bears no responsibility, throws his employees under the bus, blaming others, and goes untarnished for taking equipment that doesn't belong to them to lagoons that were not cleaned out and let go, and to the present where water meter systems that should be scanned are broken and people are getting outrageous bills. That troubles me. That bothers me. There's no leadership here. I don't see the person with showing responsibility. The only way, I guess, that you can get fired in the water department is if you swear to the real person who is responsible for these problems. And I'm asking you, Mr. Manager, who do we hold accountable? When does the fault rest with the guy at the top? I guess our philosophy is to correct the problem and begin anew and look the other way, hoping that this thing will improve. In the meantime, we have people who owe thousands of dollars and can barely get by because someone in the city at the top failed to live up to their responsibility. And to me, that's just not right. It's not right at all. That's my opinion, and I'm in my personal opinion. Thank you.
Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Through to the manager. Mr. Manager, when could we expect the completion of the new meters to be done?
2.5 years. When it's done, it will be read by a satellite, so there'll be no need to go into the homes to read the meters. But that's not going to happen for 2.5 years, the complete project. So what I told you before is that I have already started an investigation into this issue. First of all, I made sure that this won't happen again for the next 2.5 years, and then I'm going to find out what happened in the past and how we can rectify those issues.
It does seem like a long time. Is that normal for a city the size of Lowell?
Yeah, when you think of what has to be done to replace all of these in every single building, the 2.5 years to me is reasonable. But I want to make sure that in that interim, what happened in the past doesn't happen again. That was my first order of meeting with the head of the water department.
Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I guess, this is an issue that's come before this council several times over the past couple of years, and it's kind of ongoing. And what's surprising to me is that the department head has to be well aware that it's a problem. And the department head has not done anything to address it. And even if we did provide extra personnel to him, he didn't use that personnel or reassign the personnel in order to make sure that this would not be an issue. It just seems to me that any department head, if they understood that there was an ongoing problem and that a problem that was being discussed here at the city council, would take action to address the problem, or at least come before the council or go to the city manager and say, these are the resources I need in order to make that happen. But so I just don't understand why that doesn't happen with this department. And it isn't as if this is the only problem with the water department. Over the years, in the short time that I've been here, there's been several other problems as well. And I don't mean to pick on the department head, but it's just astounding to me that they haven't done anything to address it themselves. And so maybe you could convey that to the department head this week, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do want to applaud Mayor Elliott for bringing this forward. This problem, I think, the scope of this problem is much larger than I anticipated even 7 days ago. We're still getting a lot of emails. Still have people approaching me saying, oh my God, I've just been hit with a couple and a demand fee. So how can someone be negligent, not do their due diligence, and say, oh, we made a mistake and you owe us demand fees too? That's just unacceptable, as Councilor Mercier stated. For starters, let's get to the root of this problem, let's fix it. And then we're gonna see how it happened and people are gonna be accountable. This is not right. I don't see how we can even pull that off, quite frankly. But I mean, I understand some property owners may be negligent. In some cases, maybe they denied us access to the property. I don't know. But I'm willing to bet a larger percentage pay their bills on time, have done the right thing, no one's asked to enter their property, and are being punished. So this is a problem. This is a big, big problem. I think these homeowners have rights and should, have some kind of retribution against these high. How can you just throw a couple $1,000s when you're used to paying a couple $100s? Rather large swing in my mind. So, Mr. Manager, again, let's find a resolution here. Let's get to the bottom of this problem and let's fix it. Then people are going to be accountable. I'm sorry, because this problem is huge. There's no two ways about it. So I think we all are on the same page here. We want some answers, and the taxpayers want some answers. So look forward to your report, Mr. Manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. As always, we're always looking to the city manager for the answer to the problem. But I really think that perhaps there should be a request of the head of that department to ascertain when did he know about the problem, what steps has he taken to correct the problem, and what is happening, since if he did know about the problem previously, what steps is he taking now, and give us a report, or give the report to you for us. But I think in holding anybody accountable, simply ask for the report.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I know I probably started a lot of this with my remarks last week, but and I stand by those. But I think it's important to note, in the 15 or so years I've been here, I've gotten maybe more compliments about the water department than any other, maybe wastewater, sewer. But for people that actually have service problems, that need service people to go to their homes or fix a main, and we've seen it here with an older system where mains break and people work all hours of the night. I think, by and large, the performance we get from the water system and the employees in that system has been very good. The quality of the water is good, the reliability is good. I know we've put a lot of money and resources into building redundancy and things like that and modernizing that plant, but, that has been a source of pride, at least in my time here as a city councilor. So to see, that sort of go for naught while we have all these sort of administrative and billing issues is just too bad. So I don't think we should lose sight of the fact, at least in my view, that the water service is good, the water quality is good, the performance by and large of the employees is good. But this type of situation gives all of us a black eye, not just the water department, but the entire city. And that's, I think, the reason it's been the focus of so much discussion here.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
I'm not denying that the water isn't good, but for an $8,000 water bill, it better be lined with Dom Perignon before I say that it's magnificent.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Just one quick question, Mr. Manager. When do you think we might be getting the report on this?
I would imagine that I asked him to get back to me this week with his findings on it, and then I'll report to you hopefully next week.
Okay. All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Motion passes. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Kennedy, second by Mayor Elliott. Thank you.
She's in Maine, my dad dropped off dinner.